Welcome to Room Service. I'm Sarah Richardson. Are you looking to unleash the potential of your high-rise apartment? We'll help you turn plain vanilla into a celebration of color by finding the right fabrics to line it all up, making some family treasures better than new, and by giving a planter a new purpose. All this takes an average two-bedroom apartment from standard to stunning, and it's only on Room Service. Tried to find a great apartment in a big city? Well, it's a challenge, but you have to look beyond the bowling alley hallways, the echo chamber, the oh-so-flattering light, and the pink walls to concentrate on what lies behind the front door. One of the best things about coming into this apartment is you get greeted by a very friendly chocolate lab. Now, one of the features of this apartment is that it has a big open living dining space. Oh, that's a noisy toy. A big open living dining space, which is key because this apartment is shared by Mom, Dad, and a one-year-old baby.
It's a one-room, living room, dining room, office for me, and with a balcony adjoining it, a nice wide balcony and plenty of light.
Now, I want to talk about this furniture because I think it's fantastic. It has a wooden frame on it and then caned sides. It's from the 1930s from Belgium, so it has great sentimental value. These are pieces that have been handed down by our clients' grandparents, and I think that it's wonderful to maintain pieces that you may have inherited from family members and really work those into the concept instead of just going out and buying a new sofa. So we're going to track down someone to help us fix these up and really make them a focal point. As far as the orientation of the room goes, I think we'll move the work area to be in front of the window instead. It's much nicer to be able to work in front of natural light, and that will allow us to pull back a little bit with the living room and expand it further down into this space. We have a lot of dead space right now, and I think that instead we could divide this as being a more distinct living room and dining room area. We need to address the paint color because right now it's sort of a cool tone. We've got some chipping on the ceiling, but I think that by using some vibrant colors and some fun aspects in this room, as well as an eclectic mix of furniture, we will make this a terrific space for a family of 4. How do you infuse a space with the essence and ease of family-friendly style? We're starting with color, as shiny, bright, and happy as a bowl of cherries. We're going for a playful mix of sunny shades that add warmth and energy to our canvas. It's all about casual ease designed for comfort and, of course, being ready to roll when life is always on the move. When designing a room, do you start with the bottom with the rug and work your way up? Well, today I've decided to go straight for fabrics. I'm feeling inspired, so I've come to the source with lots of selection. There are hundreds of patterns and thousands of colors, which can make choosing a scheme for your room seem like a daunting task, but I promise you it doesn't need to be. You really need to be realistic about your room and about what type of effect you're trying to create. What's the mood? What's the feeling? You also need to think about realistic lifestyle aspects. How do you live? How do you use the room? Do you have kids and cats and dogs? Well, in this case, we have both a small child and a dog, plus 2 very active young parents. So that means that we can eliminate all the silks and all the taffetas and all the more formal fabrics. What we're going for here is really casual, comfortable, chic. And some of the fabrics that I love to use that are really hard wearing are things like cottons and stripes and ticking stripes and plaids and some casual textures and even prints. Now, the advantage to using these fabrics is that they are made of entirely entirely natural fibers. Often they're 100% cotton. If you're choosing twills, there's a couple of things to keep in mind. Some twills have a smooth finish, while others are brushed. The brushed can make them feel soft. It makes them feel a little bit like chenille. But the only disadvantage to that is that this means that the fabric can be more absorbent to dirt and dust and dog hair than if it has just a smooth texture. So my vote will be to choose a smooth textured twill for this collection of upholstery. Another thing to consider for this room will be injecting a little bit of fun, perhaps something in the way of a stripe, something with some color. Here is a prime candidate. This is sort of like a vintage ticking, almost looks like a barcode with a really bright, bold palette. Our clients asked for warmer colors, more exciting colors, and this, I think, will achieve all of that and more. When room service returns, we'll see how our room is coming together and see how a family heirloom is restored to splendor. If you have an heirloom treasure in need of restoration, finding the right person to restore it is the key. Tony Lawlick is passionate about the craft of caning, an art form that started almost 300 years ago. He specializes in the various techniques and details that give cane furniture renewed strength and authentic appeal.
Caned furniture, most experts believe, began around 1760. In the countries of either England or Portugal. And it's believed that explorers or traders went to China and found caned pieces that the Chinese had done. Somebody probably brought a Chinese piece to England or Portugal, and it just became of interest to the high society, and craftsmen began to work then on pieces and trying to find out how to get caning woven onto fine pieces of furniture that they had.
Restoring cane furniture is a painstaking process. Individual pieces of cane are passed through holes, much in the same way as it was done almost 250 years ago. For Tony, caning is a family business learned from apprenticing with other caners, some research, and of course, trial and error.
When I see a piece for the first time, first thing to do is establish the type of cane work that was used on the piece of furniture. My first goal is to conserve as much caning that is already there. So hopefully I would be able to do what's called blind weaving, which is almost an invisible mend, if there's not a lot of damage to the cane. If there's a great deal of damage, then I will have to recane the entire piece. When I bring it back to the shop, the first thing for me to do is to look at the cane pattern and make a mental note or a physical note of where all the caning went, the number of drilled holes that are around the edge, and which pieces of cane went in where, so that I can have exactly the same pattern when I start over again.
I think that's an interesting thing.
This one piece will make 52 layers.
Watch on mobile devices or the big screen, all for free. No subscription required.
I then have to re-drill the holes that the caning were in, make sure that pegs and glue and things like that are allowed. And oftentimes I chamfer the edge of the wood rail on the inside because it's one of the things that breaks cane prematurely. So I'll take a bit of sandpaper and get rid of that sharp edge. Once all the weaving's done, then the client may wish to have the coloring done. And I use a particular product that actually penetrates into the stain, and I will hand mix the colors so that I have exactly the same patina as what's existing on the original cane. And then I'll discolor the cane and add the grime and dust back into it if it's an older piece so that it matches up with the rest of the furniture. The beauty of cane, it's a very, very classic item. It's been used for a very long time. I think one of the reasons that designers and decorators like it is because it never changes. It never goes out of style. And I think that's the major reason that caning probably still exists today.
Our clients' heirlooms are in capable hands. With expert help, dramatic results can be achieved. If you're thinking it's looking like a garage sale, well, I don't blame you, but it's because everything is in flux in this room. Things are going out, things are coming back in. One of the most important things that's come back is the sofa. The repair is completed, the caning is all restored, the base has been reupholstered, and I am certain that from this point on, this set of furniture is going to be the star in the room. And I think it proves that it's worth keeping those heirloom pieces and reconditioning them for dramatic impact in your room. Now I want to talk a little bit about the color scheme, and I've decided to go with some pretty bold accents and have some fun with the color in this room. My inspiration was this fabric. What I've done is I've extracted colors and used them throughout the room. The filing cabinets used to be black, but now they're a color called spicy, which is an orange, sort of a soft orange that picks up on this band in the fabric. Then I did some really light, loose, casual ottomans, perfect for the little guy who lives in this space, and they're covered in a pinky red twill with a mustard band. My walls are painted my favorite warm, creamy color, and it's called pastry. And day or night, it always looks terrific. So we've got a bunch of colors that are gonna inject some energy into this space, and also works with the existing coffee table. I found a really neat set of bentwood chairs. I got them at a consignment shop for quite a good deal. The seats need to be recovered, and I have yet to choose the fabric for that. But the frame that's stained in this sort of dark walnut color ties in very well with the sofa, makes a reference back to the more traditional lines, and gives us a bit of an edge. We're sort of doing a mix here of some modern touches and a few more traditional things. You'll see I've got a huge, huge light fixture above the dining room table. It's just a parchment shade, and it's on a dimmer. There's no tabletop here yet, but the base came from, it's an old recycled display fixture from a store, and it also has that more modern edge to it. The drafting table is yet to move on out of here, and we've got a few things left to set up. But as you can see, I think that this space is coming together to be friendly and functional and warm. We all love to have an extensive collection of CDs, but storing them is another matter and a design dilemma. Now, as you know, the cases aren't that attractive, at least I don't think they're attractive, and they take up a lot of space. So if you're short on storage and you don't have a stereo cabinet, what do? You need to be able to see the titles and keep them organized. So here's what I did. I got a large size CD binder. It holds 264 CDs. You can arrange by artist, you can arrange by category. The great thing is if there's little ones in the house, it'll keep them from rifling through all the cases, and if you go on a road trip, you can take them with you. It keeps them neat and keeps them organized. When room service returns, we'll find a shining function for an inexpensive planter. Fasten your seatbelts. I am about to use both power tools and electrical to turn a planter into a lamp. Are you ready? Here's what I'm doing. I'm starting with a planter. What I really like about this is it's made out of teak, and it has a rustic, textured look, and it has just a tapered square base to it. So I think it is the ideal piece to go into our living room, which is going to have a bit of a modern look to it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to measure at the top, and I'm going to find the center point using a pencil and a ruler, and that is 2.5 inches in from either side. The next thing I'm going to do, here comes the power tool part. I'm going to put on my goggles. I'm going to use a 1/2 inch wood spade drill bit and tighten my drill. And then I'm going to drill a hole right in the top. Woo! Okay, that's the power tool part. Okay, now I'll dust off the wood shavings. The next thing I need to do is I have to drill a small hole in the side. And now I'm ready to put it together. I'm starting with a nipple, which is a threaded rod, and I have attached both a nut and a locking washer on it. I will slip that through the hole in the top, and then hold it with my other hand. Then I will place another locking washer. Then I'm using a collar. And this is a 3-part. There's a disc, then the collar, then another disc on the top. This is going to give it a little bit of space, and it will hold the whole assembly a little bit further off the top of my lamp. Then I'm going to use, this is just a round, it's like a decorative nut, and that will hold the neck, the collar in place. So I will tighten that up. Okay, then I'm going to add, this is a harp assembly, and this is what holds the harp, which holds my shade in place. That goes on next. And the next step is to attach the socket. The socket comes in 3 pieces. I'm gonna take the base of the socket and screw it on to the threaded rod. Now, what you need to do is take your wire, put it through the hole that you drilled in the base of your planter, and then thread it through your threaded rod. And here you go. Now, we want to attach that to our socket, and you've got your wire already stripped. Loop it over and tighten the screw to hold the wire in place. We'll get this eventually. There we go. Loop that over and tighten it in place. Terrific. Now all you need to do is place the socket cover over and snap it in place and tighten the set screw on the base of the socket. It's as easy as that. Next thing I want to do is attach my harp assembly and then add the shade and a decorative finial to hold it all in place. It's easy. It takes about 10 minutes and you will have your own custom-made lamps with a modern twist. The ubiquitous banker's chair was designed for the Bank of England around 1870, and many variations are still in production today. The wheels on the earliest versions were porcelain and later brass or steel, but for the past century they've been made of rubber. The contoured undulating backs on these solid oak tilt and swivel chairs were rough cut by bandsaw, then shaped by hand for great lumbar support. The banker's chair is testimony to good, timeless design. It's a modest investment with great returns. When room service returns, our high-rise apartment reaches new heights. Okay, you may think that my favorite color is white. However, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret, and that is that I've had the best time working on this living room and dining room, and I love the combination of colors, red and yellow and orange. When it all comes together, it's warm, it's inviting, and it's energizing at the same time. Who would have thought? Let me tell you about the dining room, because we've just finished that off. We've got the frame of the table base that you saw before, but I've added a new tabletop to it. This is just a masonite tabletop. It was about $50 at a home supply store, and then we sanded it and coated it with numerous coats of an oil-based paint in a color that's called Tripoli sand. It's a really intense yellowy green. Our bentwood chairs from the consignment shop, we've reupholstered them in a tomato red cotton linen blend. It's durable, it's hard wearing, and the best thing of all, easy to recover should they ever get stained in the future. On the back wall, you can see that I just couldn't get enough of that striped fabric. When I found it out shopping, I was inspired, and I loved it so much that I decided to create a wall hanging out of it. Now, this was a very simple treatment. I started out by taking 2 3x4-foot artist canvases, I screwed them together, and then I stretched a 3 yard long piece of the fabric around it and just hung it on the wall. It's bold, it's graphic, and it's a lot of fun. So if you find a favorite fabric, why not do this? Especially because if you're renting an apartment, you can take it with you when you go. Well, we had so much fun with the painted tabletop that I decided to apply the similar technique to side tables. We used a very simple steel frame. These are just welded together by an iron worker, even leaving the joints just raw. I made tabletops out of 3/4 inch thick MDF, which is medium density fiberboard, and then I painted them in a checked pattern using a soft yellow and then the same spicy color that we used on our filing cabinets. To top them off, I used a few coats of bowling alley lacquer. This was recommended to me by my paint store, and it's given a really neat high gloss shine and also extra durability, which is a good thing. I've got my lined baskets just tucked underneath this side table and also underneath the coffee table. So Henry's toys are all stored away, but whenever he wants them, he knows where he can find them. Here are my lamps that I made. The dark teak base works really well with the caned furniture. And speaking of the caned furniture, now you can see it's all been returned, and I think it looks better than new because it has a well-loved and well-worn patina to it. All the upholstery is complete. We've added a couple of pillows in linen and also in our favorite stripe because I had to use it just one more place. And another addition to the living room is this shelf. Now this is just a very inexpensive floating shelf. The real advantage here is that if you live in an apartment building built in this era, say anytime from the 50s to the 70s, chances are you probably don't have a mantle, but it's nice to have a ledge where you can put candles and artwork and even a few fresh flowers, especially if they're out of reach of little hands.
Big thing for me is I do a lot of work at home. I do a lot of reading and work at night, and it's terrific having a desk by the window where I can get some air, and it's a nice big wide desk. It's a good space.
We've got a butcher block top, a number of accessories in natural wicker, and those sort of play off the caning that's on all the furniture. A few bright red and orange and yellow accessories, some simple drapes that hang in behind in a warm cream color. But the best part of all is that when you're in this space, it just feels cozy and warm and inviting. I'm Sarah Richardson, and I hope you'll join me next time on Room Service. Welcome to Room Service. I'm Sarah Richardson. Who says you have to wait to decorate until you find out whether it's a boy or a girl? We get a head start by transforming this home office into a nursery for our new arrival. Take a guess at which lighting will work best for a girl or a boy. Then we'll hammer together an innovative, versatile solution for a change table and see what a sister has in store for the new nephew or niece. We'll show you that decorating the nursery is a breeze when you're expecting the best, and it's only on Room Service. There are many changes involved in having a baby. One of the most important ones in this particular room is the fact that it's no longer going to be a home office or a catch-all. It's now about to become the nursery. Now, this room is on the north side of the house with a large window that has shutters on it. It's got high ceilings, they're 9 feet, which is a little bit unusual for the second floor of a house. It's going to provide a cozy backdrop for a baby's room, and there's just enough room for all of the basic elements we need. We're going to bring in a crib, we are going to paint an old dresser and turn it into a change table, and we'll even have room for a rocking chair and perhaps some storage. A decorative area rug will help to set the tone for this room, and a new wall color will give it a little bit of brightening and freshening up.
Well, my favorite colors have always been pink and green, which would make it very easy for us to have a girl. But given that we don't know whether it's going to be a boy or a girl, we've had to look at a neutral palette that would work for both.
Now, here's the exciting part about this room. Our client's sister happens to be a fantastic artist, so we are going to commission her to paint all of the furniture in the room for the baby.
So when Martha became pregnant, she had asked me specifically, with great joy, would you please do my room? Would you do the nursery for me? And of course I said that would give me great pleasure.
But here's the catch. We don't know yet whether it's a boy or a girl. There was some discussion about the artist being told the sex of the baby first, but who's kidding who? As if she could possibly keep this as a secret from her sister who's having the baby.
We knew that there was no way she could keep the secret from me. So we decided we would go with a neutral theme that would work in both cases, but wait to put the accent pieces and the real theme for boy or girl in after the baby was born.
So what we're thinking about starting with here is a very light sort of seafoam green bordering on a soft lakeside blue. This will allow us to take it in one of two directions, either garden inspired or lakeside inspired once the baby is born. The exciting part is we'll start with an overall concept and then put those finishing touches on once baby arrives. If a baby could tell us exactly what they wanted for their very own space, what would it be? It would be a place to grow and explore while being nurtured and comforted. A cozy place that is a soft and welcoming haven filled with supple textures and smooth lines like the delicate curves of a perfect little creation. It's a fresh and exciting environment with an optimistic outlook on each and every new day and the adventures that lie ahead. Are you starting to wonder exactly what I was thinking about when I was designing the nursery? Well, don't worry, I'm not thinking about putting a fringed lampshade in our nursery. But I've sort of got most of the main elements taken care of. Crib, that's easy, it's just gonna be plain white. The dresser, it's already there, and I'm just gonna make a change table that goes on top of it. I've ordered a custom rocking chair, I've ordered the drapes, and so now it's just about all the little accessories and filling it in. Now, lighting, that's a key thing. I often find that the lighting, an overhead light fixture in a baby's room is sort of dull and boring. So I thought, why not have some fun with it? The only thing that's going to make this a bit more difficult is the fact that we still don't know if it's a boy or a girl. And that would make my job easier. Instead of picking one light fixture, I'm going to see if I can find two. So, first things first, if it's a girl, because I actually think it's going to be a girl. If it's a girl, I'm thinking maybe a chandelier. I always like the look of a painted iron chandelier in a little girl's room. It's pretty, it makes you think that you're a princess. I never had one in my room as a kid, but would have liked one, I'm sure. So here's this one, it's all painted. It doesn't have crystals, which I think is a good thing. We don't want it to be too sophisticated or too mature, but it's got hits of pale pink, some soft blue, and I think that you really can do something like this in a hanging fixture, especially if you have the clearance on the ceiling. I have to admit the scale is a bit bigger than I would have thought, but when you're looking at vintage fixtures, you really have to take what you find, and this doesn't have too much of a Palm Beach flavor to it, which I also sometimes find. Anyway, I think that we can try this out and we'll see, and it'll be a pretty look. Now, what if it's a boy? Well, I think if it's a boy, we could go with something like this one here. It's just a milk glass fixture, pretty simple, vintage fixture, and that'll also give a neat look to the room. It'll be far more streamlined, nothing fussy. I wouldn't want anybody being mad at me when he grows up for giving him too pretty a light fixture. But either way, whether it's a girl or a boy, I think these are two great options that could work for our nursery. If you're planning a nursery, a change table will be on your list of necessary items. But you may already have a piece of furniture that could work instead of going out and purchasing a change table. In our case, our client already has an old dresser that we are going to outfit with a change table topper to allow it to be used both as a change table now and as a dresser later on. Here's what I've done so far. I'm starting out with a sheet of 3/4 inch thick plywood. I've had this cut with a 1/4 inch extra allowance on all four sides. And then I'm using 1 by 6 inch poplar here as the frame that will go around the change table. You need to allow a 3/4 inch set down beneath the base of the change table so that the topper will stay snugly in place and won't slide off. In this case, I have already cut all of the boards using a miter saw. Now, a miter saw will mean that I can get a really clean corner joint. and I would suggest using a radial arm miter saw in order to cut these. If you don't have one, maybe you can get them cut where you buy the lumber, or else enlist the help of a friend. It's a little bit awkward at times, so this is a great project to do with someone else. You'll also notice that I've added a decorative molding detail here, which just gives it a little bit more presence. First, I glued the detailing on, and then I've used nails to also hold it in place. I need to countersink these nails instead of bashing them in with a hammer so that I don't cause any damage to the trim. Next, I'll fill them with a little bit of wood filler. And then I simply need to assemble the table topper. Now, in order to make life a little bit easier, I have drawn on a guide of 3/4 inches, which represents the thickness of the wood, and the 3/4 inch set down that will hold it in place. I'd suggest pre-starting your nails just to help hold things in place if you're doing this on your own. Okay, now I can set it in place. I'm going to use my 3/4 inch piece of wood as a guide to help me line things up. And I will clamp it on either end. Great. You'll want to make sure that you use carpenter's glue and put a bead of glue, looks like I'm ready for new carpenter's glue, all along the edge of the plywood and also on any mitered cuts. Once you have everything lined up, you can start with one nail at one end. Then, just as we did with the trim, we want to countersink all of our nails. I've got 3 sides attached, and just to show you how it's all coming together, you can see the 3/4 inch overhang of the sides, and this is what will ultimately hold the change table in place. I've been countersinking and filling with wood filler as I go along, and of course using my glue. Now, if there are any women out there wondering why the glue and why the wood filler, well, let's just say that wood filler and glue are sort of like lipstick and rouge, very necessary. Last thing I have to do is attach my final side, then it needs to be primed, and this will be going off to our client's sister, who will be painting this and turning it into part of the whimsical theme of the entire nursery.
Many ancient civilizations believed that gems were heaven sent. A different stone was worn for each month until the 1700s, when Polish gem traders introduced the custom of wearing your own birthstone year-round. Exactly which gem that might be and its meaning varied widely from one culture to another. To simplify things, an official list was created in North America in 1912. Our June baby's birthstone is pearl, which signifies good health, an auspicious quality for this family's new little gem.
I hope you're feeling surprised when you see this room and notice how much larger it's starting to feel now that we've reconfigured it as the nursery. We've moved out all of those old mismatched pieces of furniture. We've repainted them and freshened them up. The dresser, the side table have all been painted. We've also painted the walls. That builder's beige that was here before has been replaced by a whiter shade. It's still got a hint of cream in it just for some warmth, and it's called Seed Pearl. The ceiling is in a color that's called January Frost, which to me looks like the reflection of a pool on the ceiling, a pool or a lake. It's a really soft blue. We've also picked that up in the carpet, which is a chenille sort of mottled carpet with a velvet edging on it. Very soft. It'll be a great carpet for the baby to play on. Now you'll notice that we've decided to use this soft blue color throughout. This is our accent color that we've chosen because we felt that it would work well regardless of whether it's a boy or a girl. If it's a girl, we're going for flowers. If it's a boy, we're going to do a sort of lakeside theme. And that's an answer that we will have very shortly because this baby is about to arrive. Now, another thing I've brought in here is the rocking chair. And this is something that I had made. I've chosen to go with a slip-covered effect here. We've got a sort of creamy white fabric with a large-scale blue check. And something that I want to point out is if you're thinking about getting a slip-covered piece of furniture, make sure that you choose an upholstery fabric for the underbody as well as for the slip cover. This means that if the cover ever comes off, you end up having two looks, not just one. The other thing is to make sure that you pre-wash all of your fabric first so that it won't shrink. This cover can easily be thrown into the washing machine and into the dryer if it ever needs to be. Now, a few other things in here. Here's the change table that I made. It's now been all primed and it's ready to go. The only thing left to happen in this room is to make the selections for all of our bedding, our artwork, a light for the ceiling, and of course, to let our artist expert work her magic on all of the pieces of furniture and turn this into a spectacular and whimsical nursery. What do you do when you're working with a nursery that doesn't offer a lot of space? Well, in this case, we decided that every piece that was introduced into the room better really work well. So, Mom wanted a footstool to go with the rocking chair. What we decided to do was to turn this not only into a footstool, but also into a toy storage box for games and books and toys. It's a simple construction made for us by an upholsterer of 1/2-inch thick MDF covered in a fabric that complements the scheme in our chair. It measures 18 by 18 inches and is 16 inches high. It has a soft foam top, which provides a place for Mom to put her feet up and a place for baby's toys and games and books to be stored.
Well, the suspense is over. Martha had a girl. Now it's time for her sister Sarah to spring into action. Sarah is creating artwork and painting most of the furniture in the space as a gift to her new niece. She has chosen to go with a flower fairy theme in delicate light watercolors. Sarah's inspiration is one of Martha's all-time favorite childhood stories.
So it's a girl, and we're going with the flower fairy theme, and that's all very exciting because I think it was very special to Martha to have that in the room.
Sarah's works will be based on a series of children's books that are more than 100 years old. Illustrations of flowers were associated with different letters of the alphabet, nursery rhymes, and various other themes.
I chose two different flower fairies. One of them is sort of a rose fairy because Martha loves roses. She's a huge fan of pink and green. As anyone who knows her well will know that or see that in her house. So I'm using a very soft, delicate, pale rose pink for this rose fairy. And a variety of greens, but there's a common pale aqua blue that was the undercurrent color for both boy or girl, depending on which one it was going to be. So we decided on that color, and that's going to be tied into all of the work in the room. So the watercolors is perfect medium to be working in for this because it's soft, it's watery, it's light, it's pale, it's oh so baby. So it's perfect, and it's going to be lovely in there. Really lovely. I can't wait to see it.
Not only did Sarah create artwork for the walls, but she also decorated the furniture by continuing the flower theme on the drawers of the chest, as well as intricate details on the knobs.
She's too young to appreciate it, but, you know, it is tailored for her, and there is quite a bit of a personal, familial message in there because of the connection with the flower fairies and what it meant to my maternal grandmother and my mum. So when she's old enough, I'm sure my sister Martha will tell her how it came to be, which will be very, very special for her.
In addition to Sarah's talents with watercolors and painted furniture, she also paints bright, bold canvases in oil that have been well received at shows in North America and Europe.
It is a special experience for me to be making a custom room for Jacqueline because it's not anybody's room, it's my sister. And my sister is the greatest sister in the world. Of course, I'm biased, but she is, and she has been extremely supportive of me in my career. So it's very special to me to be able to get back and make this room, you know, top-notch and completely unique. It gives me a really good feeling, and it's gonna look gorgeous when it's done.
Are you ready to see your paintings, little one?
See, I think that's great.
Hi, little poodly poo.
Okay.
Little poodly.
Okay, here we go. Oh my God. Oh. Wow.
Okay, open the next one.
This is like the rose.
Oh, holy smokes. Okay, now I'm almost speechless. She's carried the essence of what we grew up with as very, very special stories to us in paintings that I just can't imagine being any more beautiful for her room.
The waiting is over, the surprise has been revealed, and I am happy to report that it's been 5 weeks since little Jacqueline was born, which is a good thing because it's given us enough time to complete this room in all the pretty girly details. So there is no doubt at this point that obviously the biggest feature, the real showpiece in this room is the 2 watercolor paintings that were done for Jacqueline by her Aunt Sarah, not me, and all of the painted furniture. And really everything else that we've done in this room is just provide a backdrop to support these paintings and make them look as beautiful as possible, which they do now that they're hung. Now onto the furniture. This is the change table that I made, and you'll see that Sarah has painted it with this beautiful striped border with little flowers and bows, Jacqueline's initial, her birth date, and then a striped treatment that carries down across the face of all of the drawers, each front done with a different motif, and each knob is done with a different type of flower. We are talking about attention to detail and incredible talent and passion that's gone into creating all of these pieces. There's a little table here which is Jacqueline's table. However, she's letting her mom use it right now as it sits beside the rocking chair that we made for Martha to nurse Jacqueline in.
I think Jacqueline will absolutely love her. Weren't you gonna love it, sweetheart? I know you are. She's going to love her painted furniture, which is just to die for.
We've brought in a 4-shelf storage tier here to act as display, but also to keep some important things close at hand. We've used really inexpensive baskets. We've painted the baskets white, and then we've added little liners in pink and green. Of course, it had to be. And we've also lined a little laundry hamper here. Now look at these little accessory pillows that we made. This is a soft green. This is actually a shirting fabric with a small pocket that's created using the extra fabric that we used for the duvet cover. Now I have to tell you, the search for the fabric for the duvet cover took us all the way to London, England, and we ordered it by mail, and it's now been made up with a pale pink backing, and it sets off the theme that runs throughout this entire room. I got to choose the light fixture from my shopping excursion that was all about being a little girl, and here it is. The flowers and all of the painted colors are exactly the same as the ones that run throughout the room, and it's also beautifully offset against that soft blue ceiling.
She's gonna be one lucky lady. Aren't you, monkey?
It's cozy, it's soft, it's pretty, and it's feminine, and it's a great, great place to be a baby girl. I'm Sarah Richardson. I hope you'll join me next time on Room Service.